Everyone would please rise and put the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening, and just thank you for each and every individual here tonight. Pray that you bless them with not only wisdom for this meeting, bless all of us with wisdom for this meeting, but also with safety and your hedge of protection for their trips home and whatever the roads may be. And we just thank you for each and every member of this community. Help us all to see the opportunities that are before us, to be thankful for what we have, and to be thankful for what's around the corner, and to be open-minded and a willing heart, open to your word, open to your guidance, open to your wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, Jan, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore,
Present.
Bob Leahy.
Correct. He's a little under the weather, unfortunately.
Nathan Conklin,
Present.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Tito Frias.
Here.
All right. Trust you've had an opportunity to review the minutes, or actually the consent agenda, if you will. Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
We have a first, we have a second?
A second.
I think that was Tim, right? Yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Consent agenda approved as presented. Department reports. Probably good everybody sitting down. I actually don't have anything to report at the moment. But we will move along. Department head, so Jan.
Yeah, I left on everybody's desk the financial report for our tax-driven funds for the end of 2020. If you look at the end, on the left-hand side, there's the receipts are in green, the expenses are in red. The bottom line is that we spent more than we received. This was due to our payment to PSI. So it also skewed, because I put the percent of the budget for each of the departments in the general account, and that really messed up my numbers. So if you look at the right side, I took that payment out so that you could better see what the departments actually did. And you'll notice that the money spent in each one of the departments was less than what came in, which is always a good thing. So the only thing was because of that payment to PSI. So had we not had that, overall we would have had $362,000 in revenue more than expenses. So that's my report on the tax-driven funds, unless anybody has any questions.
So the numbers are the same on the left as they are on the right, except for that part?
The numbers, they are the same, except that the receipts, if you'll notice the receipts on the left-hand side, those are not, like receipts gets receipted into the general fund, they're not into each individual department. Okay, those are all departments. So what I did is I do a percentage of the budget to see what that department should receive, okay, to be used. But because of that big payment, it skewed all my numbers. So you'll notice on the right-hand side, the green receipts is more accurate as to what the percentage of the budget was for each of those departments. So, and then by that you can compare the receipts to what was spent. And you can see that they were all of them, with the exception of some at the bottom. I believe it's fire and police and MVH, but they were all within a couple $1,000s, so they weren't over very much at all. And if you have, you can email me or give me a call. I can explain things further if you'd like.
Anything else?
No, I like the way it was actually presented here. Both, two different views. Was it intentional to get to, minusing out the payment basically that, I don't know what it was, a little over 350,000 positive, minusing out the large PSI payment.
Was it intentional?
Yeah, to basically get back to,
Saving some money.
well, yeah.
No,
To,
it was not intentional. For some reason.
what I'm trying to say is, I guess,
They were underspent. I mean, they didn't spend their entire budgets. A lot of the departments didn't, especially Park. That was one of the, but we know why we didn't open the pool.
yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is like where this administration came in, beginning of the year 2020, trying to get back to flatlining, the expenses or the budget in a 4-year period of time to basically make up that PSI payment. I don't know if I'm explaining
It
myself
was
very well.
not intentional to have them cut their budget or not spend their budget. It's just the way
It just kind of
worked out.
happened. Okay, all right. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear, but
No, I think I'm following.
trying to claw back from where we were in that hole from that
Yeah.
big payment,
Right.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
The Board of Works has been very prudent in everything they approved last year, and then the department heads have done an excellent job. They are.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah,
been wonderful.
I think probably the coronavirus has probably been more the driver of being a little conservative in terms of cautious conservatism
Right,
on spending,
right.
aside from just the things like the pool that was a decision made not for that purpose,
Well,
but.
yes and no.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think that was kind of in the back of everybody's mind all along, and then lots of things going on, like the wastewater plant project had everything kind of, everything's a little in flux, so
Yeah,
everybody's being a little careful about what they're doing.
yeah. And turned out well. Anything else, Jan?
No.
Okay, and I do apologize. I did have one thing, but him holding about sharing it, but because it's official, but yet we haven't done the official PR launch, and that is we did receive approval at the end of last week, which I shared with council. The Patronicity Grant was approved at the state level for the rail tower relocation, meaning we have 60 days starting today for a 50-50 matching grant. And so if we raise $50,000, which we've got off to a roaring start already, then we will receive $50,000 from Patronicity. So it's a 50-50 grant. And, but again, we haven't, my communications liaison, Bill Corbin and I, we actually have a call tomorrow morning at 7 to get everything dotted and T's crossed, and then he meets with Bridget Anderson, I think is her last name, from Patronicity tomorrow at 10 in the morning. And then we will go to the city website thereafter to be able to see how you can give digitally, online, and to help us reach our goal. And so within 60 days, we will get there, and we will get that rail tower moved this year. So, so that I do have that announcement. I apologize, but again, the PR end of it is not officially launched, so I can at least give you guys a teaser. Moving along, council members. Brandon, let's start with you this time. Anything?
The only thing from a Randolph County Solid Waste Management perspective is that we did have the post-holiday electronics collection on the 16th. We did have 24 cars come through, which is basically more than double than what we had last year. We had 11 last year, and that was with the snow that we had on the 16th. So it was a good turnout in that regard. And then we have Shonda Solomon here this evening for the presentation that's on the agenda here. So that's to come as well. So
Fantastic.
that's all I had.
Good deal. Nate?
If you are looking to potentially get a new job, I know that there are multiple employers around town that are hiring. If you don't know where to look, feel free to message me or contact the city building, and they will get you my email address, and I can give you a little bit more direction. So, fortunately, crazy enough, we have multiple, I believe there was 4, just from my conversation of last week, entities in town that are hiring. Other than that, we'll talk about the discussion layouts later. As for the The housing, what we're doing with potentially renovating or selling some properties that the city has owned, we'll touch on that when we talk to Mr. Frankie. Other than that, that's what I've got.
No, good job. Tim?
Nothing real earth shattering at Board of Works today, other than some couple items will be discussed tonight otherwise, so I won't bring up, but, we'll mention that the, wastewater treatment plant is in operation with the new systems, other than, Molly, I didn't make a note, well, one thing that's not up and running yet. We have one minor operation that's not running yet, but I forgot to write my note,
Yeah,
so I can't quote it.
he,
But,
yeah, he didn't.
and,
The skate is not totally.
Yeah, the skate is not totally in it.
Yeah.
And a couple of minor little issues they're working with, but and some ammonia levels are high, but they're expecting that to come around. And Rob seems to be fairly well under control. He's still nervous and kind of shaky, but I think they're getting there. So
Good deal. Thanks for sharing. Tito?
Just a few questions that I've received from different members of the public. Do we have an update, please, on the wind turbines? We settled our lawsuit
Yes.
at the beginning of the year, and but they're still there and kind of an eyesore.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are wondering, where that's going.
Yeah, no, good question. Number one, it's important to note, they are not the city's, the city does not own that turbine, and it also does not sit on city property. So it's actually, right now, it's up to the county to submit for their in operation being the turbines in operation, for more than 12 months, which is against county ordinance. However, that being said, I do have a meeting with Tim Tillman it's online via Zoom this Friday at 2 p.m. And so, because I have voiced to him that we don't want to be held hostage with that standing at the side of the property. And to his defense, he doesn't want it sitting there doing nothing any more than we do. Well, I shouldn't say any more than we do, but he also does not want that just sitting there. So, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more light shed on that.
So who is Tom?
Tim Tillman. He's the president of PSI.
Oh, okay.
His original stance was that they were not wanting to move until there was resolution on the other turbine, but he has come to the realization that that's not going to come anytime soon. So I'm cautiously optimistic he's changed his stance in terms of moving something on this one,
Nice.
knowing that we don't know when the other one's going to be. So because that's completely out of our span of control with that one. So
Okay, thank you.
good question.
Another one is, do we have an update on the ROC, the Renovate Our City House at 502 North Columbia Street? People have been seeing it on Facebook. It looks really nice. And people want to know if what's the status of the work? Is there a buyer? We heard there was a buyer, then different rumors going around. And who could they contact if they're...
Well, are you okay with them contacting you, or Steve, or myself, or Brandon, or Mr. Black, our superintendent? But he probably would appreciate me putting his name out there and getting phone calls in the office. But certainly, they're welcome to call up the city building, and they can leave a message for me certainly as well. It's no secret we have a $100,000 budget that we're on target to stay within and have it completed inside out. Obviously, the garage door still needs replaced. That's part of the scope of work that's is being done currently by the contractor that's doing the 2 bathrooms as well. And then we have the drywall to complete and the flooring. And so once those are completed, then our goal is to have it sold before May. I want to have it, in fact, I'd like to have it on the market in March. Anybody, yes, we did have a buyer that was ever so close, because she had a child that of accessibility challenges, that she thought that would be an ideal place, but there was going to be a lot more renovation to make everything accessible, including door frames, and you have it, ramps and so forth, that was going to be more than what she had bargained for. So we have had 2 other individuals reach out once they saw it painted, and then they would like to be contacted. They have interest in buying it once the inside is done. I am not opposed at all to having a bidding war if more than one person wants it, because it needs to be known with the public that money, any money above and beyond the purchase price or our cost, does not go into any of our pockets. We're a 501c3. It goes right back into the fund. And of course, the sale of the house will pay off the cost of the revolving loan, the bank, and then anything extra would just stay on our account to help us with the next project. So yeah, it would be ideal if somebody wants to get into a bargaining battle, or a bidding war, I should say, is the appropriate terminology. That would only help us and help the community in the long run.
Okay, so people can contact me if they want to, or the city, or
Yes.
pretty much any one of us, I guess.
Yeah, and if they want to take a look at it, if they want to ask any questions, if they want to put in an early bid, whatever the case may be. Yeah, we don't have anything to hide. So.
Well,
And it does look a lot cleaner on that.
And we're looking at getting this to sort of market in March.
Yeah, that's the goal. And it's going to be bare bones. I mean, it's going to be white walls on the inside and just on the floor. No carpeting, just regular floor. So it's going to be it's a blank canvas, so to speak, for someone coming in.
Right.
But if they have a fondness for a colonial look, because that's what's going to be on the inside too, then it's move-in ready.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. That's
good
all.
question.
Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. Thank you. Monty.
I have a couple of bids here. We have that South Columbia water line in there that we had two breaks on last week or so. And it's a galvanized line, so it's just, we're on borrowed time with it at the ground as it is. So Brad had a couple of had some 3 quotes done on the replacement of that line, and we bought the parts for it, so the piping and the fittings and whatever like that, so that we saved whatever markup there was on that. So we had a bid from Cooley Contracting to replace that line's 350 linear feet of pipe for $24,418. We had a bid from KBL Transport out of Portland for $16,720. And a bid from John Slocum out of Ridgeville for $16,025. So Board of Works recommended the Slocum bid as the low bidder.
Any questions?
We will add that that line was a 1-inch galvanized line feeding 4 houses, which is
Not gonna get done.
not enough. One inch line isn't enough to feed 2 houses. So, unless you just all take alternating showers. But.
Monty, where was this located again?
It's South Columbia and Maple. So almost the extreme end of South Columbia. And why anybody would put galvanized in the ground, I don't know.
So I hereby entertain a bid for the Slocum, or a motion, I should say, for the Slocum bid in the amount of $16,025.
Was there
Yes.
time frames or delays on any of these, or are they gonna start immediately?
Yeah, Bill has been informed that it needs to start immediately.
Okay.
I move that we accept the low bid from, was it Slocum or whatever? Slocum, $16,025.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Peter Priest.
Yes.
And we have the main drive out of the park is really deteriorating. A lot of alligatoring on it, and some places that are actually broken down that are going to have to be point repairs. So they would like to have a chip and seal with the focus seal like we did on South Street, if you've seen that. Out at the park, and so there's not a lot of people that do that process here, so 2 bids were all we could get on it. We got a bid from Pavement Solutions for a cost of $24,627, and a bid from Wagner Paving for $21,710. And again, Board of Works recommended the low bid, Wagner Paving.
I've got a question in regards to the park.
Sure.
Have we gone any more in depth as to figuring out the ditching? Because I think with the low-lying areas, some of them being close to the roads, that could be some issues. And I think spending this money is good to fix it, but also we wanna make sure we're not looking at this again in 24 months.
Yeah, and we are looking at that. We've got K.I.S.S Consulting is looking at a stormwater grant project for out there, so.
Okay.
Because there'll be some extensive ditching.
Yes.
Take care of that, but.
Do you
And this realistically, that street out there needs paved, but
Yeah.
that would be horribly expensive. So this should hold it for a few years yet.
Okay. So is the ditching a high priority on our list here?
Well, you know, it's all
Yeah, I mean, if we
a
can get
question
the,
of funding, yeah.
yeah, if we can secure the funding for it.
Do we know how much it's gonna cost?
Well, that's what he was having Dave take a look at in terms of getting us estimates.
Yeah, he would have to do the engineering on it. We had an estimate done on it a couple of years ago that I think was in the area of $60,000, I think.
Okay.
So.
No, I'm glad we're bringing this up. I actually walked out at the park on Saturday, and I noticed the roads in several areas, and I was going to mention that, you know, with the increased traffic, with the unprecedented traffic really from Community Christmas, that the roads have taken a beating over the past year, and it's only going to get worse unless we do something like this to preserve the lifespan of it. The other thing I did notice, I walked the actual walking path around the park. Do we have any plan to potentially resurface that or seal it? Because
Yeah.
I noticed in several areas we've got, you know, 1/4-inch gaps in the surface, and
Yep.
and sealing it may preserve that too, and filling those cracks.
Yeah.
Not to muddy waters between issues, but
It's
I know you and I had talked maybe briefly one day out at the park about that.
Yeah, yeah, and Dave's actually pursuing that as well. There's I can't think of the name, I don't think it's America's Walks, I can't think of the name of the grant. Trails?
Trails.
Heritage Trails, yeah. The grant that we're pursuing with them to get that done, because it needs to be wider and resurfaced, both. And so we're actually, yeah, that's on my to-do list. That was actually part of our Stellar presentation back in, 2016, or whatever it was. So we've been needing to do that for some time now. We think we have a window of opportunity this year with the walking grant. So I'll follow up with Dave to see when the submission date, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't asked him about that because I've been hot and heavy on the, sorry about your dad. I've been hot and heavy on Vision Corner, trying to make sure those grants get submitted, because I've made adamant to Dave that building has to be done this year. We have to get that grant money, because I want to get it done and then get it into, other hands. So, but I'll follow up with him and find out when he's submitting that.
Well, and not to beat a dead horse, but it's pointless to redo sidewalks if we go do ditching and they have to dig up either the road
Right, yeah,
or the walking path.
true.
So,
And to be honest with you, I haven't the water out there in the park, it's the park addition that suffers the most from the water standing. Where the walking trail is, the only part where we really have a problem is right down along, Winchester, or
Yeah.
the Winchester
you see
Pike?
Pike?
Yeah, that's the part, there's
Yeah.
stretches through there that we
That's
have
the-
this problem, yeah. But the
Crews have to
walking
walk
path,
around it.
once you make that curve and get past the part where it always sits in by the soccer field, once you get past that, the rest of the trail was pretty much unaffected.
The corner
So-
right in front of Rick Lacey's house always has standing water. Even in a drought year, there's standing water.
Gotcha. So, well, I'll find out what the scoop is from him, and then we'll see, what we need to do is check to see if there's, and I don't know enough about ditching that, if there's spot remediation that's even a possibility, or are you just spitting in the wind by fixing one section if you've got something downstream that's actually causing the issue. Maybe we need to see what we can do as in the short term.
I've looked at some of this, I think there's some couple of solutions that can at least
Alleviate some of it.
spot problem.
Okay, then won't we make that, you want to either discuss with Brad or?
Yeah, yeah, Brad and I have talked about it before, we didn't get to it last year, and so we need to get it, look at it, and I've got a couple ideas, and I think there's a couple places we can, there's one place that there's a drain that's basically not functioning under a road that would help drain one area off. And it's something that can be done fairly easily, so.
Excellent.
Not a solution, but it's a help.
Yeah, yeah, well, again, until we get the bigger scope of things done, that would at least,
Yeah.
okay. I forget where we were at now. Oh, we're still waiting on that, yeah, do we have, for the main road through the park, for repairs. Do I hear a bid or a motion for the bid from Wagner Paving?
Yeah,
amount of
and I'll
$20,000?
clarify something, those
Yes.
bids, we'd had, the original bids, we'd had them with the option of the fog seal, and particularly after, and we did that on the South Street, but I had a conversation with Travis Hufford from Wagner the other day, and he basically assured me that the fog seal is basically cosmetic, and he doesn't even recommend doing it. And by taking the fog seal out of it, that's what put Wagner at the lower amount and saved several $1,000s. So
Good to know.
that's why it's a little different than what we'd originally had on the bid.
Okay.
Because we looked at that, and the Board of Works recommended just taking the fog seal out of it, because it doesn't really, I assumed it had some function. He said, no, basically it's just there to make the road black. And he said he doesn't recommend it.
Hasn't been black for years.
So it doesn't really, and puts this, basically looks like the county roads do when the county does chip and seal at that point, so.
Good clarification.
At that point, I'll move we accept the bid from Wagner Paving for $21,710.
Can we put a stipulation that they don't start until we figure out what's going on with the drain?
Yeah, I think we could look at that.
Okay. In that case, I second.
And I'll, by the way, probably want to add, that's just the main road. That doesn't have all the connector roads and so forth.
Yeah, it's
So-
just the one right
So
through the
like,
middle.
for instance, where you're talking about across from Lacey's,
Yeah.
that won't get done
Okay.
in this job here
Yeah,
anyway.
to be honest,
so-
I don't know if there's any,
And then,
is there any water touching up, I'll say this much. I've not seen any water butting up against the road on the main trail, all the years I've been out there working.
not really, about the only place it gets, the one place where it gets wet
It's
is
a curve.
across from
Curve is
the, where the volleyball court is, well,
Sand volleyball.
yeah, maybe back close to the tennis courts. That area, it's not up against the road so much, but that part on south of the road tends to stand some water. at times.
Oh, yeah, there's a little stream through there, but yeah,
Yeah.
it tapers off before it gets up to
Yeah.
the road.
But it doesn't really get to the road,
No.
and that's one place where I think I see a solution for getting that water to drain away. so,
Okay.
Without being a big problem, so
Yeah.
I don't think we have a problem for the most part.
Is this going to do the parking lot at the pool?
No, that's the next, that's the other thing I was gonna bring up is that Dennis and Brad were discussing is that the #1 shelter parking lot is in terrible shape and probably beyond saving without just paving or going to gravel. But the pool parking lot is in need of work, and we're probably gonna have to look at that like next year. Hopefully we're okay. I haven't looked at it close enough to see how we are. I think it'll be all right till next year, but we probably need to think about that and the other feeder streets and so forth in there. So we had some discussion about setting up a line item in the budget for park maintenance, particularly in this.
Park road maintenance.
Because that's one of the questions we had for Jan, is where this money comes from, because we really don't have this money budgeted for this, for what we're just now approving.
Right.
So, and we haven't had a chance to have that conversation with you, but, because we need to be able to determine where we're pulling this from. Do you have any other words of wisdom in that regard right now?
Money does.
Okay.
Yeah,
He has suggestions.
we looked at it, so we can take this out of the paving budget for this year, so.
Okay,
So with taking out the matching funds for the community crossing project, we'll still have, enough left over easily to do this.
okay.
All right. Well, we got first, do we have a second? Oh,
Yeah.
Nate seconded on condition of Brad and Tim's meeting and
Not drainage.
yeah. So we have a first and second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
The only other thing I have is the demo bid has been let for 120 Oak, now that the gas company's got their gas disconnected. And I think that's it.
Good deal. Good job. Do we have, I noticed we do have a, at least I had on my desk, one of the facade renovation proposal. Was anybody presenting this?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll turn it over to you.
This is from Susan Linder. It's for the building that has nobody in it. It's an unoccupied building at this point. She does own it. This is the building that when we were discussing all of these possibilities with the facade grant, I was counting as one potential participant in this program. The work is already done. She's asking for your consideration for this. She is planning on making herself available at the next council meeting, because I have instructed her that you guys are going to review it, take it under advisement, and then she can present what she's done, the work she's done, before and after photos, all that stuff, to you at the next meeting. She's just nervous about it because none of this was really approved ahead of time, but it was something she was continuously working on since early last winter. So she has done some extensive work securing the basement access on the outside of the building. It does have an exterior staircase. All that concrete has been redone, and the metal door has been upgraded to something that's more intrusion proof than what it was. And then she has placed new windows on the second floor, and she is, just so you're aware, she's also in the process of renovating the inside in hopes that we're going to put somebody in there. But that's yet to be decided on what that is, so.
Is this the building on the alley across
Correct,
from
right
where
next to Accents on You.
but we closed off right across the
Right,
street? Okay.
right, it's the east side of that alley. So, it doesn't have a business name, her application's missing some. She was a nervous wreck when she was preparing it, that's what she spent, and she's just putting it out there for your consideration, and if you'd like to have her on the agenda for February's council meeting, I'll see to that.
All right. Anything else, Steve?
Not with that, no.
Alexandra, I heard through communication this afternoon, if I understand correctly, the school is.
Yes, actually, right before I left here, I actually got the news. Our 7th and 8th grade will be going back full-time February 16th, so they can get into the feel of that, how that'll be. And then 9th through 12th grade will be going back full-time March 1st. So hopefully some of us seniors can get the rest of our year going. So that'll be real nice. But we still have to take the precautions for everything. So we still have to wear our masks and try and keep socially distanced as much as we can. But the school's just doing great to try and get everybody back together. So we finally got approved to to do this, so.
You guys have done an exceptional job through the whole thing.
Oh, yes, we've all basically cooperated, I think,
Yeah.
also all the students helping and making sure that they wear their masks and everything, and it really helps, so.
Oh, great job. And I'm happy for you too. I mean, I can imagine think back my senior year, many years ago. I can imagine going through what you guys have gone through.
It's a little different, but.
A little?
It's very different, but we're hanging in there.
That's
so
awesome.
We're doing it.
Well, congratulations. That's so good.
Alexander, any update on your counterpart over there? We haven't seen him since like Thanksgiving.
I'm honestly not too sure. I think he might be at practice.
Okay.
I don't really.
Yeah, I
Not too
asked
sure, but-
his father, and he said that it's because it interferes with basketball practice.
Ah.
Their coach, I think, lives in Muncie, and they have a late practice.
Yes.
And so as soon as that season is over, that he'll be ready to come back.
That's why I've been so thankful that we named 2 this year.
Yeah.
That way we have a representative, so
Yes.
it's been wonderful having you here. Well, thank you so much. Anything else?
I don't think I have anything
All right.
else,
Well,
but.
good job. Ryan?
Yes. Okay, so last time we talked about moving forward on the condemnations, getting those. So we filed a motion to enforce our nuisance ordinance. So in the condemned houses, we can get an order from the court allowing the city to go onto those properties and demolish those properties. We have about 12 of those, and they are right now in the process of all being filed, all 12 of them. We did 3 today, and then they'll all be filed by Wednesday.
You say, I'm sorry, you say Wednesday, I got a train horn in my ear.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah. And then they'll set it for a court date, and the people will be ordered to appear. And some of them will, some of them won't, I'm sure. And we'll go from there.
Now, for the ones that don't, just for edification for everybody here and everybody watching, are those ones we can move on immediately? Will the judge rule on those immediately if they don't show?
Yes. As long as we have service, as long as we have gotten good service on them, and they don't show up, then basically they're defaulted.
Right.
Right. But if for some reason they don't get service and they don't show up, well, the excuse is, well, they didn't know about it. But
What do you mean when you say get service? Like getting served the paperwork?
yes.
Okay.
No.
Right. The technical legal jargon is, once they get served official process, then the court has jurisdiction over them for that specific case. So, yeah.
Okay. So the rest will be filed Wednesday, all 12 will be filed Wednesday, or by Wednesday, it's half of them already been filed. So what the court cases, what visibility will we have for when all those are scheduled?
I would imagine they'll be scheduled in February.
Okay. And so,
And then, yeah.
what do you recommend in terms of how we could have visibility to that when they're scheduled? Do they post anything, like dockets or anything on any type of website or any?
Well, they used to put those in the newspaper. You know, they used to print those. I don't know if they do in the newspaper anymore or not.
Michael?
I can let you know the dates.
Okay, Michael Buckmaster, can you speak to that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm just curious. Yeah, because I'd just like for us to have visibility, because we've got the process in place finally to address these. The council's worked hard to get those addressed on the back end, so we just need them now.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, I can let the council know the court dates. I mean, I can write an email.
Yeah.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Sure.
If that's over, I mean, as long as that's
Absolutely. No
okay.
problem.
I don't want to say anything out of turn. Certainly.
No, that's perfect. I mean,
Okay.
it's those hearings are open to the public.
Right.
So
No, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, because once we have, good grief, even if we had 3 that we're in our hands that were salvageable to go to auction,
Yep.
to get into the hands of somebody who really wants them and will make good on them. So that's awesome.
that's it.
That's it. All right.
Point of clarification discussion that we didn't think about in writing that ordinance was it had to be a primary residence. This just came to my attention last
I
week.
thought that was in there.
I thought it was too.
Well, I don't know. No, here's the part. What about a house that is a double? Does it have to be put back to a single-family residence, or does somebody have to live in the double? That's what I mean by primary.
Oh, okay.
Because, yes, I know we put it had to be a primary, but there are multiple doubles in town that could potentially need addressed. And we don't have to say anything now, but that's something we're gonna have to think about in case it comes up.
Let's chew on that.
My initial thought is that if it's a primary residence for the owner and then that's still an investment property, similar to what's been done.
Yeah.
Then you still have the accountability of the owner there, so.
In the
So
spirit of the
you know,
intention of this whole ordinance, it still
I
meets
think
it, doesn't it?
I feel like it does.
Yeah, I
Now,
agree.
That's, everybody else can have their opinion too, but I would think that would give some people some opportunities to
That works for
make
me.
it that way, but that's.
That's why I wanted to see if we were all on the same page, but that was not clarified in that ordinance creation, so I wanted to make sure we.
I have one other question to throw into this mix that I know kind of derails a little bit, but what if someone wants to buy one of these properties that's adjacent to their own property and would like to demo it too?
I think we're all open to suggestions. If somebody wants to do that, I think that's something we can definitely, I mean, as the governing group that decides it, they would need to put their bid and application in like everybody else and explain they're going to demo it and proof that the bid is, that they have an idea of what's gonna cost to demo it.
That's, I guess that's, as I thought about that, because I've actually had one case come up and I feel like we give some preference to adjacent owners anyway.
Right.
And if an adjacent owner wants to buy one of these properties, take on the cost of demolition, it's, you know, we've got some limits on how much we can put on this anyway, so they're solving our problem.
Right, yeah. We're still getting to where we need to be.
We're just not getting a productive house back in the, you know, on the tax rolls, but at least the property problem is solved, so.
If that situation comes up, that's
I'm open-minded to it myself, but I didn't know how everybody else feels about that.
fill out an application, we can all discuss and review and have a formal vote, I think.
Case by case basis.
And I wasn't gonna bring that up, but just kind
It
of,
was a good point. We're gonna run into these. I haven't,
it's one of those things
we're
that
very
kinda-
new and haven't even had a property up for auction. So I
yeah,
think we're gonna run into all kinds of things.
I think you're right.
All right, we have a presenter, we're blessed this evening to have a presenter, Shonda, as referenced earlier by Brandon, Shonda Sullivan from the Randolph County Solid Waste Management Department and Pollution Solution. And Shonda, if you don't mind, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, there's two of us here today. Tanya is here as well. Tanya is our educator and community outreach coordinator. So we wanted to come today, and we're grateful to be here. We've done a couple of things in the past year to try to help county residents know what to do with their trash. County residents have a lot of trash, and they don't always know quite where to put it, and so a lot of times it ends up in our recycling bins, which is not really where we want it. So we've done a couple of things, and Tanya's going to tell you a little bit about that, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about the recycling district, what our mandate is, because not everybody knows what it is that we do. Our mandate is to provide recycling services for the entire county, so those green and white or green and yellow bins. We're getting new bins, so if you've seen the new ones, they're green and yellow. Those are ours, and we set them around the county for residents to be able to place their recycling in. In addition, we provide education as to what goes in the bin and what's not supposed to go in the bin. And we also run Pollution Solution, which is Randolph County's mostly permanent household hazardous waste drop-off site. Since we're closed from the middle of October until the middle of March, it's kind of hard to say that we're really permanent, but we've had so much traffic start to come through in the last little while. We're gonna be open this year. We're gonna open for an extra week in November, an extra week in December, because we've just had a lot of stuff, and the weather for some reason is not as nasty as it used to be. So we get to do that. In addition, we host paper shred events, and we also help municipalities and school districts and other nonprofits. We take care of their paper shredding for them. We've done a shoe collection a couple of times a year. Didn't do it during COVID, so we're hoping to get back. We partner with the FCCLA at Union City High School, and they have been a real big part of doing that for us, so we're really excited about, hopefully maybe that will work again this year. So as the director, I just kind of manage the recycling and the household hazardous waste kind of stuff, pay the bills, and we kind of keep things going. Tanya does all of the classroom and social media, community outreach. We have a board of directors that consists of the county commissioners. We have a county councilman on the board. Brandon is a great member of our board as well. Mayor Bob McCoy, and Lisa Teal, and Bob Lincolnstoffer is on there. So we have a board of directors, and we also have a community advisory committee. So members from the community come in, and we meet with them a couple of times a year to get community input on how we can do a better job with doing outreach and providing services. So it's really kind of a cool thing. We try to stay connected with the community, and we're always looking for ways to do better and to communicate more about where to put your stuff. And because that's really a big deal. The district is funded through a tipping fee. So every ton of trash that goes into our landfill generates a fee. Half of that fee comes to the district to help pay for all of the recycling and household hazardous waste, and the other half goes to the county, which helps pay for our roads. It goes into the roads department. So we're not tax-based, which is really kind of nice because it allows us to do things like give grants to we have a couple of community grant programs and scholarship programs and things like that. So I'll turn some time over to Tanya to tell you what we have done and to try to help people know what to do with their stuff.
Well, as you can imagine, outreach has been looking a lot different for me. But it was a blessing because it gave us the opportunity to do something that Sean has wanted to put together for a long time, and it's a resource guide for the whole county. And not only does it go through the ins and outs of recycling, but we've also featured every city or town in the county in what they offer as far as trash services and how to contact them. We also, recycling is a small part of what we talk about. We like to inform how to reduce and reuse and repurpose, and we have information in our guides about that. Places throughout the county where those services are offered. We are new at this. This is brand new. So we want you to read and review the guide and let us know what you think and what did we miss. Because we've already found things in communities that we could have added that could have been helpful. After we printed it. Little things from, the Hallmark store down here. We didn't know until I went to visit her that they collect glasses for the Lions Club. So we have different things like that where we want to put in to let the community know what are our resources. How do you get rid of that mattress? Don't leave it at the recycling bins. We also wanted to inform on the programs that we offer and the outreach that we offer, and of course social media has been a big part of that. And we also developed a new website that we're really happy about, and that information's in the guide too. What are your questions? Did you have any questions for us about the guide or what we do or who we are?
Guys, you have any questions?
You guys have a digital one of these?
Yes. Yeah, on our website, the very first page, you scroll down to the bottom and you can click on the PDF version of that. It can be printed or it can be attached. I've already, Facebook, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and I often send links back to our webpage for those things. We just posted our community grant. Some of you, I think, might have got an email about that today, but it's also been posted on our Facebook. It links it back to our webpage where you can print off an application. We offer up to the amount of $3,000 for communities, which includes cities to do things that would be something that would use some kind of way to be environmental, use recyclable materials. We've done benches that are made out of recyclable materials and different things. Recycling, if you want to put something kind of permanent in for recycling. Community gardens, we've done those. So that's our whole point, is just to help reduce that environmental footprint in our county.
And is this all set up like this on your website as well? Is all this exact same information is on your website?
Yes, and a little bit more. It goes in a little bit more because we
Okay.
have that opportunity on our web to add more information. But
Is that-
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, I mean.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Oh, I was gonna say, it seems like it'd be ideal to have a link to this from our website, our city website.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect,
Yeah.
you bet. Yeah.
So, I'll get with Bill, and if you don't mind, we'll create a
Yeah,
link. so
that would be great. We have a link site on there too, and that's something we haven't really thought about. We feature all the, we have your webpage. We don't necessarily have links, but I can implement links in our web. So like if you want us to put like where they can click on they got your logo, and we can just have them go straight to the
that'd be
website.
perfect.
So
Yeah.
I'm learning so much about how to do
Search
a
engine
webpage now,
optimization right
and it's
there,
really
that's
not
good.
that hard. So it's been fun. So, but that's a good
That's
idea.
awesome.
I never thought about that. Just linking back and forth. So.
No, I appreciate it. It's just, I want to make it as easy on
Right.
everybody, not just
Right.
us, but also the citizens, that anytime somebody has a question, they always know they've got a reference, they can go straight to the website, no matter what it is. That's our goal.
And one of the
And
things
so
that we
that's-
talk about here is where all our bins are at. We get a lot of questions, where do I
Yes,
take it?
yes.
And Union City, of course, we had that change. We had to add one to the street department because we took them out of Safeway. But then we also put, Save a Lot. But we also then put a bin there at the community, what do they call their?
Community Help Center.
Oh,
Community Help
and I
Center.
love that one. I just use
Yeah.
that Saturday, so that's awesome.
Yeah, they provided a really nice area
Yes.
for us,
Yes.
so.
Very accessible.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I was just gonna suggest that we might, put the web information on the back of the water bill for some people who don't
Oh,
want to
that
pick
Great
up
would
on
be
idea.
that.
great, perfect.
And maybe even say for non,
Uh-oh. Jan's holding her head, though. Hold on a second. Speak your mind. No, speak your
that's
mind.
fine with me, I just.
I mean, it wouldn't have to be,
Oh,
very much,
you
just
just-
a note on.
Well, it could be February's. It could be February's.
Yeah, just,
Whatever.
I was actually thinking about maybe just kind of a link.
They open up in
Several
March,
months.
right?
That pollution solution opens up in March.
Pollution
Yeah.
solution.
We always have the recycling bins open to the communities. We put a save the date out, I think you guys got two, and something if you do that with your sewage, like we sponsor a community paper shred at Didier Hardware in the fall. We have tire, that's always buy back, the tires, but that's at the pollution solution, but it affects the whole county, Those things, if you wanted to add to your sewer bills, we'd be very grateful for.
Anytime.
We put them out on social media, and that was one reason why we had double from our electronic event in January, because I think it was social media, because we just really have been pushing that. We have found that it's not only saving us money in advertising, but it's working better.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Can we apply for a grant to help us move the rail tower?
I was thinking about that because anything that has to do with, I was trying to decide, is this a reuse,
Yes.
something?
Yes and yes.
Repurpose. And I would say that I apply for it. It's super easy,
Great.
super fast, and
It's $3,000, isn't it?
That's
$3,000.
So that becomes $6,000. So if you want to leverage your own money, it's $6,000 for the county.
I think it would be great. So, yeah, it's a
Okay.
real simple application. It can't hurt. The board of, both the Community Advisory Committee and the Board of Directors make the decisions, but I think it's a very good use of our money, so.
Good question.
Absolutely.
Preservation and repurposing, so. I
Yeah.
think we
Yeah.
do well.
Yeah,
There
absolutely,
you go.
absolutely.
We will.
I'm determined to move that building this year.
Yeah.
Determined.
No, I think that's a great idea, absolutely, so. Absolutely. So I hope that if you ever have any questions, Monty and I have worked together. We've got some things happening here and continue to do that. If there's ever a question as to anything that we can do, we're happy to do that. And please send residents to, give them our phone number, send them to our web address. Most residents, when they know the right thing to do, they do it. And if, we have a small percentage that are just gonna do whatever, but most of the time, when they know, they do the right thing. So we're trying really, really hard to help them to know how to do the right thing. And we're working hard to get the guides into the hands of as many people as possible. They have them in your city building, and we put them in other places around town. People can get them also by just calling my office, and I will stick it in the mail that day, and it'll be there in a couple of days, so.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'd like to be able to help out with the most is educating people on what they can and can't put in the bins.
Yes.
I've been known to, I'm not above pulling out non-recyclables out of those bins. I've done that several times, and where there's, a bunch of vinyl siding or something that shouldn't be in there, some other materials that aren't in there. And I get them out, I take them down, put them in my dumpster.
I appreciate
Because I know
that.
it's a problem.
Overall, in Randolph County, we do pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many counties in the state of Indiana, they don't even put unmonitored bins out
Because they
anymore
can't,
because
yeah.
they were so abused.
Yeah.
The only thing that, and I think we're good, and as long as we can keep the contamination rate down, we'll be okay. If it ever gets out of hand, the only option we have is to go to a manned site.
Oh.
And that's going to
costly.
be, it's going to raise our cost, and it's going to really make accessibility an issue.
Yeah.
So we're trying really, really, really hard to first educate and hope that we never get to that point where we have to go to a manned site. So,
Agreed.
that's what we're all about. So please let us know if we can help.
Well, thank you so much. Wonderful job. I appreciate what you do, seriously.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Could you leave an email address for me so I can have something to send a bill?
We are actually, right there on that first page is our emails,
No.
and you should have all that
That
information
procedure,
there.
you have backfill houses
Right here at
in
the
town.
top.
All right. So if we send it,
I
okay,
helped
cool.
click on when I was
Okay,
at
thank
the but I've
Hey,
never
thank you
seen
very
it.
much.
And I actually think I sent you an email today with the
Okay.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, it
I'll
comes
check
from
that out.
Tanya Williams. That's
Awesome. Thank you.
Actually, do like an on-site bill.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Ship the parts of the building out to the site.
All right, Tito, if you don't mind, I'll,
Yes, first I stand up or?
what's that? It's whatever you're comfortable with.
I don't know, whatever's appropriate. It's probably more focused if I stand up. So are we gonna get
You
that?
got it, no, we just put on broadcast, Tito, you need to connect to that TV and do the broadcast for them, we don't control that. We're doing it on the feed, so if you have a laptop, it'll connect to that TV, that's the only way they're gonna be able to see it.
Okay, no, I don't have a laptop. Okay, so, and basically I do it off the thing, so I'm gonna have to flip through this and do it.
Well, we've got in our packets though too, so that's good.
Right, so basically, this is a presentation about splash pads and some considerations we need to make for decision making. In context, the pool was closed last year, as we all know, due to COVID, and that did incur some budget savings for the city. And at that time, people weren't very happy, or some weren't, of course, and there were calls for and need for more recreation options in Union City. With or without COVID, with or without the pool closure, I think we all were interested in looking at increasing the options for our youth, to have more recreation options in Union City to keep people in town and become an attraction. And the splash pad was one idea. So I don't know, Brian, if you guys are moving on the slides so that people can see who are watching this. So what is a splash pad? It is a recreation area for water play. They are usually in a park, has little or no standing water, eliminates the need for lifeguards because there's no, you're not getting in water, and so there's very little risk of drowning. For people who are watching this online, you can see that there's a splash pad there in Headwaters Park in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's basically just streams of water that come up, and children and of different ages can play in there anytime they want. And that looks like it's in a park. The next one is one in Logansport, Indiana. And that one is one that is right next to a swimming pool. So it's part of the complex of the swimming pool. But if you look at it, it's on the outside. So it's sort of free public access. And there's some little sprinklers that come straight up from the bottom. But there are also these these things that stick up on top. And the water goes up and splashes down or sprays down on people and different things. And so that's a lot of fun for the kids. There's another one right there. I'm just wanted to show people these different options because to think of what we would like to have in Union City. This one's in Daleville, Indiana. So again, you can see that there's water splashing up and then falls down on kids, and there's a lady there as well.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm through Daleville every week now, and Daleville has done an excellent job of actually marking or promoting this splash pad. There are wayfinding signs all over town. Of course, Daleville, if you've been to Daleville, it's not that big, but there's wayfinding signs everywhere about the splash pad. So.
And that's funny, when you look at it, there's a huge bucket that's elevated on this pole, and there's like a little pad underneath it. So the bucket fills up with water and then tips over, and then you get this nice little sort of blanket of water coming down, and just people love that. I have one there in Richmond, so I was looking for places, different places, but also nearby. So kind of, looks basic, but a lot of kids having fun there, water splashing, and so forth. And then one in South Bend, Indiana, at the Kennedy Water Playground. That's a different format. That is actually in water, so very shallow water. It's actually a playground in the water. That is another idea that we might eventually like to consider.
So it's shallow all the way around?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, okay.
It's a lot of fun because you can go down that slide and you're in the water and it's a lot of fun. So what are the benefits for kids? Of course, it's cooling down on very hot days of the summer. It provides social skills development, right? Because it's a place where the kids can come together and make friends and so forth and interact. It's physical activity and stimulation, so we want to, exercise and movement is important. Sensory and mental comprehension. The water spouts up in different patterns, and so that gives for a lot of play. And so some of that is also, understanding the rhythms and the patterns of how the water is spouting. And so it's fun to play, but they're actually learning and increasing their perception and even math concepts from that. Right. And it's a lot of fun, and it helps them to stay in town. Another option for recreation in town. There are a lot of benefits for the community from a splash pad. It's a place for families and children to cool off and play. It's safe and fun for toddlers, even elderly and all ages. It encourages outdoor recreation. It boosts family and community connection, right? Because people come together around an attraction like this. It keeps people in Union City for recreation. Attracts visitors, potential new residents and investors, right? This is the kind of thing that investors look at. The city has different attractions. It's a fun place to be and live because they will be bringing their families in, and it's just one of those things, and we want to have that. We want to have a nice, attractive place to live and to attract investors. Visitors from out of town also patronize local businesses, so that can be a boost to the economy. You can promote local organizations or businesses with signs at the splash pad, around the splash pad. And it's a vendor opportunity, right? People are there. You can have a concession stand. There can be food, ice cream, and different things around where it will be located. Some advantages for a municipality. It is ADA compliant. So I was mentioning that it's good for all ages, but also people who are in wheelchairs can also visit and benefit from the splash pad. I know at our swimming pool we have this amazing thing that actually can lower a wheelchair into the pool. That will be required. They can just go on the splash pad if they like. Very modest maintenance costs. It's lower, definitely lower operating costs than pools. Because there's no risk of drowning, you do not need lifeguards. And one thing I hadn't thought when I drew this up is that our pool generally closes in early August because the lifeguards are going away to school and school is opening up. But a splash pad, when you don't need that, it can stay on. And August is like one of the hottest months. Even September is hot.
Yes.
So a splash pad, can go on and provide ongoing recreation where a pool, has to close kind of in early August.
Good point.
It's very modest water usage, definitely compared to a pool, depending on the option chosen. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And you can switch out or rotate the spray features, right? There's different features on how the water comes out, and I was describing earlier. And you can rotate them to sort of maintain interest and to have it change the look a little bit now and then. It is scalable to meet growing demand. It can be built as a multi-purpose park, changing by season.
Do you have any examples of that? What's that mean?
I'll show in a little bit that some are. I'm sure there are others, right? But there's some features that look really nice, very artistic, and so even in the winter when their kids aren't or no one's playing in there, it is there. It is very artful and just very very attractive. I know we had asked at the Board of Works meeting last time if it's possible to do it with an ice skating rink. That would be awesome. I was told that anything's possible, but the insurance would go up. We would lose warranties on the features because you'd have standing water frozen that could mess up the pipes, and you could not have a safety. You could not have a safety, on the ground. There's this, non-slip surface on the ground. You can just get it sort of and we'll talk in a little bit, but just cement that is made so that it won't slip. But there is a safety surface, and you can't have that if you have an ice skating. And something like this can also increase rent revenue. Like if we put it next to a shelter house or something, that'll attract more people to that shelter house and so forth. They will rent more. So I have a couple of slides there. I know people who are sitting here in front of me maybe can't see. Just a little child playing there with her mouth open. And another one, a child literally trying to drink water that's splashing out of this little spout. And the reason I showed this is because we have to talk about safety. Children will drink the water no matter how many times you tell them not to. And so there's a couple of things about splash pads. Drinking recirculated water is like drinking treated pool water and may give them gastrointestinal distress if they ingest too much or other illnesses. Also think about it, much less water than in a swimming pool. So swimming pool, I don't know, tens of thousands of gallons of water in a swimming pool. For a splash pad, you basically have just about 1,000 gallons. And if you're recirculating and think about it, there could be toddlers in there. All it takes is a couple toddlers with whatever in their diaper. The water just goes down to their body and on in. And so we got geese, and dogs. Real quick, you get a lot of bacteria very quickly. And since it's a lot less water, and if you recirculate it, and if a child is going to be drinking it, you've got a potentially, dangerous situation. So for that, just to talk about this, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, said that cases of illness caused by crypto have quadrupled since splash pads have become more popular, and we'll address these safety considerations in a little bit. So for decision making, first let's talk about the size. So you have to think about how many children we think might be on a splash pad at one time. And I think we can talk to people who manage the swimming pool and figure out how many there would be. I think there'd be more at a splash pad because there's no payment required. It's free and open to the public. Do we want to increase the number, right? I'm trying to figure out what size we want it. Do we want to increase the number that we're estimating for community growth? The community will be growing in the future. Out-of-town visitors, you know, there will be more than just Unit City residents coming. Family reunions, I mean, when you have an attraction like this, that it'll become an option. And then more people will consider having a family reunion here, so that'll bring more people to town. And so you have a larger number of people potentially using the splash pad at one time. We've got special events in town now, the rodeo, the swim team invitational, the 4th of July events, cross-country meets at Harder Park. Those are all opportunities for the families that are participating to bring, you know, their children and have them jump into the splash pad. Also, if, you know, we were also considering possibly having it here in downtown, maybe by the Artisan Crossing. We've got concerts, Hip Sips Heritage Days, or the Arts Festival. All of those are opportunities, you know, or times when you'd have more families, you know, bringing their children that might want to jump into the splash pad. And do we want to attract preteens and teenagers too? So that would affect the size and the features that you put on the splash pad. Decision number 2, will the water supply be a circulated system or fresh water with drainage? I have a couple slides about the water recirculation system. I'm not going to go into that in detail, but I just want to describe the basic things I've already talked about. One is that you have much less water, much higher potential for that to be contaminated. And since you have higher potentially contaminated water recirculating, in this case, the standards for water chlorination are higher. So like 5 to 10 times higher, more concentrated chlorine than in a swimming pool. So if you can think about that, so I think it's like 3 to 500 parts per million, 3 to 5 parts per million for higher levels. And the pool, in the swimming pool, is generally about half, 0.5 parts per million. So quite a bit more. You'd need people monitoring that daily and so on and so forth. And so basically, and even to have that, you'd have a self-contained system where the water is underground and so forth. So much more cost up front, much higher cost to maintain, and you'd have like ultraviolet radiation thing. You really have to go all out to treat this water if it's going to recirculate, and it's just very, very costly and complicated. So basically, the idea from the Board of Public Works is that they just want a pass-through system. I'll talk about now. So basically, it's fresh water and drainage for whoever's doing the slides online. Is much lower cost because it runs off city water supply and pressure. It lowers the equipment costs. The supplier provides line drawings at no extra cost, and I wrote that no engineering drawings are needed. That's general. I think in Indiana we'll still need some special drawings to be submitted. No need for monitoring of chemicals and that implies lower costs. No extra upkeep except water costs and winterizing. No chemical costs. No additional chemical costs, right? The water's already chlorinated. And since it's just going through, you know, you don't have to worry about other people coming into contact with water. Like water that's run down my body is not going to be in touch with anybody else, for example. So no longer possibility of skin irritations, chemical burns from the intent. So that's the other thing with the other one, right? Too much chlorine, you know, some people will get chemical burns depending on their skin, or sickness from the water. So no need for a pump house since there's no equipment, just in-ground vault for valves. No dry zone sidewalk is required. I think we still want to have one anyway around the perimeter. It'll be a freshwater installation, so it's a quicker process. lower liability insurance because of the things I described. If you have a self-contained recycled water, it's much higher liability insurance. Low electric usage because it only runs a low voltage Bullard activator. Bullard activator is a child will put their hand on it and that activates the thing and water starts to flow. We wouldn't want water flowing all the time, right? That would be a massive drain on the city. And this would connect to city storm drain or to the what is that called? The sewage.
Wastewater treatment plant.
Exactly, the treatment plant. Perfect. Decision number 3. So where will the splash pad be located? So you need to consider water, power, and wastewater lines. Overhead electrical wires need to be at least 20 feet away. No unprotected electrical circuits within 10 feet or wiring within 10 feet of the splash pad. Federal mandates require that a bathroom be available within 200 feet. So that'll kind of determine, unless we want to build something new, that'll determine where we put the splash pad. We may need a paved walkway to the bathroom. We were at one point discussing whether we could integrate this with the filtration system of the pool. The answer is no, because of the technology involved in, for recirculation, we're just not going to integrate it with the pool, but it probably will be next to one of the shelter houses or next to the pool. It's probably the most logical place to put it. We talked about having it in different places in town. We saw that in some places you can literally have it in the city. Like in one city, the building went down, there's a little empty area, you can actually put a splash pad in there. But we've decided against that. I think we're still thinking about Artisan Crossing, maybe, right? But probably Harder Park is going to be where we end up putting it. Decision number 4, the budget. So I was in contact with My Splash Pad. It's a company based in Louisville, Ohio, near Akron, and they give the following guidelines. So fresh water to drain, which is what we're considering. Splash pad starts at about $18,000 for a 16-foot circle, 16 foot in diameter circle, so relatively small, 200 square feet. Broom concrete finished, fresh water to drain splash pad with 12 below ground nozzles that spray and a Bullard activator. 18,000 would be the lowest that we can expect. And it can go up to 300,000 for 2,000 square feet recirculation splash pad with 10 to 12 above ground features and a safety surface. So again, part of that huge cost is the recirculation mechanism and the underground water or whatever. And so we won't need that, so it'll be much less. So budget considerations, the second slide. So installation itself can cost up to 50% of the price of the splash pad, in addition to travel and lodging expenses for those workers. But I think we've decided, or we're heavily leaning towards actually doing it ourselves, because you can buy a kit, and we can install it ourselves. So I am looking to see if we can find a budget sort of ballpark that we would be willing to fund, and then I can start getting more things together. I'm guessing that we can get a 1,500 square foot splash pad with 7 to 9 above ground features and safety surface for about $150,000. That would make it the size of that, where the swimming pool is like an L-shaped. So the part that the swim team uses, right, the deep end and the 4-foot, right, that is the size of 1,500 square foot. So that would give you an area where, maybe older kids can have some of the features where the water flows a little faster, and then you can have something more gentle area. And so, you can have attractions for all ages and so forth. And then, of course, there are some that look much more fancy and modern, and they could be beautiful and artful even in the winter. That does cost a little more, but that is what's on the next slide. And you can see that just sort of a nice curved little features there that kind of artistic. I saw one where they were all metallic.
Oh, wow.
And so that also kind of stands out. This is also nice too, just 3 colors. And the kids complain they have just as much fun as in other splash pads. So if approved, what would be the next steps? I would need to obtain some quotes. We would draw up some plans. We would submit these plans to the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, Fire Prevention and Building Safety Commission for a design release, right? We have to get that approval first. Permits and zoning, if appropriate, for a selected location. Parking area, I think depending on where we place it, we've got that under control. Seating and shade, something to think about. Changing areas, if it's next to the pool, that's already set. Otherwise, I don't know, we have to think about that. And terracing after the installment. And I think that's it. And that's about it. Anybody have any questions?
For the freshwater, you talked about water usage, but I didn't see anything in there. How much does it use per day or per week?
I don't have that estimate, but it's not outrageous. The good thing about it is that when it's not in use or when no one's there, the water is not running.
Okay.
So they have a little activator called a Bullard activator, and it's basically just a child or whoever just puts their hand on it, and then the sprinklers begin.
Okay.
That's all it is.
I know that I actually just did some research on, it was a commercial. Supposedly, when you run a sink for 4 minutes, it can use up to 4 gallons of water. And essentially that they're promoting using a dishwasher instead. So I'm just curious how much water is going to be pushed out to see how much of a problem or burden it would potentially be on our system.
Okay, I'll check on that.
And then also, what is our water cost per gallons that we're going to use if we're not recirculating it? The water still has to come from somewhere. I mean, we have giant wells out on the south side of town, and want to make sure that we're not going to put a huge financial burden on the city, potentially even just trying to keep water circulating, let alone for the residents, but also for a fun activity.
Anything else?
Brandon, any questions? Or, of course, Tim, I know Tim had the opportunity to see this at the Board of Works. This is your second go around. Was there anything that come up at the Board of Works?
We had discussion about research, and we didn't have the answer for researching whether that water needs to go to the wastewater plant or whether it can go to the into the storm drainage. And it'd be preferable if it go to storm drainage, then it wouldn't be any burden on the wastewater plant, because everything we do there, we're pumping it and treating it. So, but that question we'll have to get an answer on too.
Well, from my understanding, that they do allow, I mean, a lot of cities that do this, do it to their storm drain.
To the storm drain, yeah. It should be able to, but you never know what the
Yeah.
state's gonna say.
It probably does vary by state.
It's nothing going there that doesn't ordinarily go there in terms of contamination, so.
True.
And so we're going to be looking at budget availability. I don't know if Jan had the opportunity to have a look at that availability. And definitely grants is something that we're thinking about, grants. But if it's grants, it can't be this year, right? We're talking about next year.
Can we apply for grants for this? I didn't know this kind of entertainment.
There's, and I didn't bring it with me, but there are alphabet agencies within the state that are offering grant funding for placemaking projects, specifically like parks, splash pads, things of that nature. Monty and I can talk to Dave Keyser or any of the grant writers that we're working with and probably locate something that we would have the opportunity to get. Having it done by spring, probably not an option, but funded this year, possibly.
DNR has a land and water, is a 50%, 50-50 match.
Okay.
That's specifically for these kinds of projects. But again, yeah, you gotta come up with the other half of it.
Yeah.
We had also discussed at the Board of Works that, you know, Salina, St. Henry, Fort Recovery, there's communities, Greenville's got one, there's communities within a reasonable driving distance that we can go talk to them and get firsthand knowledge of what they have experienced, and you know, doing all the research ourselves is absolutely fabulous, and we can create what our vision is for this, but having firsthand knowledge of somebody that's running this splash pad will know exactly how much water St. Henry's using if we ask that question.
Yeah.
So those kind of conversations I think are very valuable, you know, in the planning process. Obviously none of them's open right now, but we can still probably reach out and make contact with the people that's responsible for maintaining them. I'm kind of a go big or go home guy. I wouldn't, if you're going to go down this road, I would not shortchange yourself. Jan and I went to Portland to view their new water park, and they're already getting pressure. They leveraged the farm to build that. Spent close to $3 million, I think, if I remember right, and they're already getting pressure to make it bigger, want more activities, want more, and there's no funding available for them to expand or do any of those things. So, you know, if we're going to go down that road, 1,500 square feet, probably at a minimum, multiple activities within it, you know, those are definitely conversations I think you have to talk out and get responses. I know St. Henry's new splash pad is pretty impressive, and Salina just built one on River Road there that goes around or Lakeshore Drive there that goes around the edge of the lake.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely huge. So, you know, if you're going to go down this road, I think you would want to make it more of a destination than an activity.
Yeah.
I think you want to accentuate people coming to town.
So if a 2,000 square foot recirculation pad's 300 grand, how much is a 1,500 square foot place?
Well, I think the big question there is whether you go recirculating or fresh water. Fresh water is the most economical way to do it. Recirculation, you know, you're going to probably get into huge cost just to build that system.
Okay.
It's going to save water, but you're going to get into huge costs.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what it would cost to build a 1,500 square foot one?
Yeah, if you cut out the recirculation system, I think you cut out 100,000. So you're down to 200,000. That's for 2,000 square feet.
And
1,500
is only for the equipment, that's not for the install of the concrete, correct?
I think it includes the install.
Yeah, I think Tito's right on the money with the estimates that I've looked at from other communities.
Okay.
You're in that $150,000 range for a 1,500 square foot splash park.
Okay, I'm just confused because it says installation can cost up to 50% of the price of the splash pad, so I was like 150 grand plus 75,000, and we're $325,000, and that's.
No, I think you're more in that 150 range.
Do we know those other communities that were referenced? Did they do the freshwater or did they do recirculation?
I don't know.
I think they've done both.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't specifically asked questions, but I know like Portland's, they've got a splash park in their new water park, and it's 100% recirculation.
Do we know how long they last?
I think it depends what you're going to buy. When you go ultraviolet and all the recirculation pumps and.
Yeah, no recirculation, just the regular.
I think that's a no-brainer. It's literally turning on a spigot and it runs down the drain. That's literally what you're building.
Okay.
It's running off of hydrant pressure. I shouldn't say hydrant, I should say water line.
Yes.
I'm talking hydrants when I'm at my other job, so.
How long is this, I don't want to call it a fad, but I guess it kind of is. How long has this trend been in existence? When did they start?
I'm saying
recent.
10 plus years.
Okay.
Richmond's out there is about 10 or 15.
Oh, no way.
Well, I don't want to get the city to invest a lot of money in something that
I mean, I'm gonna
The
date
fat's wearing
myself,
off.
but back when I was in high school, I could go to the beach in Cincinnati, which was across from Kings Island.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I graduated in '86, so how many years is that? It's a lot.
4 years ago.
And they had these effects and these features down there then, so.
Kings Island still does.
I don't think it's a fad, I think it's just something that you guys have to decide, are you going to offer it to our citizens or are you not? And if you are, then we got work to do, we gotta go find funding, we gotta go find grants, we gotta go do whatever we can do to make it happen.
I think it's here to stay for a while, right? Because I mean, it's just about fun and play with water. Way to cool off in the heat. I mean, that's an attraction like any other. That's going to be.
You know, the flip side to this conversation is, where the pool is being band-aided together. That sounds like or looks like ice accumulation on power lines is what that looks like to me.
Yeah.
I'm just a fireman. I don't know. So. Reality, we know to build a new pool complex is $3 million. I don't see us going down that path to build this entity part of a pool complex. I see us continually keeping up with what we have already. So this would be an addition, and it's absolutely a cheaper addition to what we're offering our citizens than building a new complex.
Is there any way we could ask the citizens? Because I don't want people to be mad at us for approving to spend $200,000 on a water park that isn't gonna be used. Can we set out a poll like what we did with the flag?
Yeah, you guys frame up something for us and we'll send it out.
I mean, I've got an 18-month-old, I foresee this being fun for him, but I don't know population of 3,800 people and the current surrounding areas. We could draw in people, but also a lot of people are gonna have to drive by a splash park to get here. So what else are we doing? I'm not, I love the idea, I love the concept, I'm not sure if it's a wise spend on money unless there's a lot of grants involved.
I think your average user of it is going to be under the age of 10. And I think if it's, you know, in my mind, looking at the park layout, near a shelter house, near a pool house, near a concession stand, that sounds to me like it's the north side of the basketball courts where it's in plain sight and visible from shelter house 1.
Yeah.
To me, that's the ideal place for it, plus it's relatively flat. It'll be minimal grading and things like that. Plus it's just kind of a barren area, there's really nothing there. So, you know, that's ideal. It's close to water because the only hydrant in the park is sitting in the pool parking lot right across from that.
Yeah.
So, you know, to me it's practical. I think you have to look at the average age of the kids using it. That's 10 and under. I think those kids are going to be on a short leash, so their parents have to drop them off, or they're on a bike out to the park, and they're going to be there for a couple hours and they're going to be gone. So, you know, I don't think it's going to be used all hours of the day and night. I think it's, you know, going to be relatively, I think it'll be daily, but I think it'll be short use. I think there'll be a lot of usage after about 3 or 4 o'clock.
Oh, great.
And one thing, just to respond a little bit to Nate's comment there, you can ask adults and parents, and they might not be too hot about having it there, but you put a splash pad, and you have all these kids tugging on mommy's skirt, you know, you will have bottom-up pressure. It will be used.
But what I can add to that conversation is, we didn't open the pool, we opened the slip and slide, and for the most part, 5 days a week, we had 50 or 60 kids over the course of the day, ages 10 or 12 years old and younger, going down the slip and slide all day long.
Okay.
How about we do this, for the sake of time?
Can we ask her opinion?
Well, we can. Would you like to play in a splash pad?
I have kind of mixed emotions about it. I definitely feel, because I also have 2 younger brothers, so I definitely feel like it'd be a really nice thing to have. Like, yes, you can go, and instead of going to the pool where you have to have mom and dad right there with you, you can go and you can be like, oh, let me you can run around. So I definitely feel like maybe that'll also be another way to get more people into the community, for other kids to make more friends. I'm kind of iffy about it. I don't really know.
Well, how about we
Maybe a senior is not going to be the first one to go.
Yeah.
how about we do this for the sake of time? Steve and Monty can get with Dave and see what we've got available from a grant perspective. If you don't mind, would you mind reaching out to Greenville and St. Henry
Absolutely.
and Salina if you like, and just to ask them, get some background on what they did.
Yep.
and how they funded it and all that. And then Nate, if you've got some questions you're curious about, if you want to send those to me, and I'll get them to Bill, and he can post it on the website. We can direct people to please share their opinion, and we'll then we can share those at the forthcoming meetings. And that will, between all of us, that should help guide us. And I think it's easy to stay. I think it's just a matter of feasibility is the way it sounds. I think everybody agrees universally this would be really cool. It's just, how can we get there, if there's a logical path. So let's do that. I think, and thank you so much for everything you presented. Very, very well done. All right, now, next on the agenda, moving along, we do have a couple items on old business. We have the ordinance 2021-01, which is the uncontrolled parking of vehicles. That is on the second reading. There have been no changes to that. Obviously, it was approved on the first reading. Do we have any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move we approve ordinance 2021-01, uncontrolled parking of vehicles on the second reading by title only.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a first and second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right, now the sale of 518 West Pearl, if memory serves me correct, we were wanting to further vet out the possibilities of spot fills in terms of new construction. Do you guys feel like that's, Monty, you're getting ready to say
I
something?
talked to area planning
Uh-huh.
on that, and
Oh, that's right, thank you.
that lot is about a little over 46 feet wide
Okay.
of usable space with the right of ways. And
Okay.
so then you've got 10-foot setback on either side.
Okay.
So you've got at the
Like
most,
skinny place.
you've got like 25, 30 feet to put some kind of a structure in. So you could put a long, narrow, some kind of building in there, yeah.
But may not be ideal for a house.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
just, so whether that would interest a developer or not, yeah, I just don't.
Tim, Nate, you guys have had good experience with housing. I mean, is that something that would be feasible in terms of a new build, or?
25 feet wide, no.
Okay.
No, I don't see it, especially, and not also beyond just the building in general, but a fit to the neighborhood would be difficult.
That's
Even
true.
More difficult, and still not very marketable.
So do you guys want to reconsider the proposed offer bid on the, I assume still on the table for that property?
We could, or we could negotiate with that person.
Okay. What say council?
Go ahead. What's going through your head?
We've spent a lot of money to get this house down, and for the amount offered, it's kind of brutal. It's gonna cost more money than that to mow it in a summer than what's being offered, so I think a negotiation to see if there's some willing for some movement. If not, maybe even open up for other neighbors if they wanted to, I don't know, this is my first time doing this one. But
Tim, what are your thoughts?
I'm right with him, right with Nate on that.
Brandon and Tito, you guys in consensus for Monty to negotiate with?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an interested person. It would be nice if that individual would come up a little bit to recoup some of the costs, like Nathan was saying. But it's I think long term, I mean, we want it off our payroll, I think, or our tax, back on the tax roll. Whether that's just an empty lot or what have you, I think that's best, so. We don't wanna lose that individual.
Yeah, and that's correct too. It is a balancing act. Well, if you don't mind, if you wanna reach out to her and then we'll,
And this is just a suggestion, thought, question.
all three in one.
All three in one. Is that something we would like to potentially amend in our ordinances to open it up in the future? Maybe there has to be a minimum put on it?
We probably ought to look at it.
Well,
Make sure.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great question. I mean, cause you run the risk of if you set a minimum and nobody hits the minimum, do we get stuck with the property?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's worth discussion.
That's kind of a question for him.
Well, there is we have to follow, there's a set of laws,
Yeah.
a statute that we have to follow.
Yeah.
And Monty
Yeah,
is.
more if we obtain it by tax sale, then we have to, it states right in the statute that you have to say that you will accept any bid, even a nominal bid.
Right.
But we did not get this through tax sale, it was bought outright, so,
Right.
so we could, that doesn't mean that we have to do it that way. So, yeah, we can negotiate the price on.
Mr. Mayor, in your previous tenure on council, what would be your position if you're up here?
I would have, honestly, if I had someone that I trusted with the property they were currently owning and keeping it up, and they wanted this adjoining property, I'd be quick to move on it. Just because I would trust it in the hands of them versus someone that may say, yeah, I'll give you an X amount, and then they never build on it, they never keep it mowed, and it's like, oh. So that's the biggest thing, and that's not necessarily the right stance. That's just how I would think about it probably.
No, it's,
So,
opinion's good.
I'll see what.
but yeah, let's see what, and then we'll discuss this next meeting, and at least we know that it's not worth keeping for a new build. We do have that much
Yeah,
knowledge.
thanks for seeking that out, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem, yeah.
New business, resolution 2021-R-02, or, yeah, 02, which is the increase/decrease resolution. Jan, this is a normal procedure for us every year, so if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so the balance is, if you looked at your appropriation fund that you got at the end of December, the appropriations within some of the departments would be negative without moving some of the money from another appropriation, but it's within that department. So they're not getting more money, it's just moving it from one line item to another. So we do this every year, and I just need council's approval to do it. So, for example, you see in the court, there was some things that would be in the red, but there's money in the judge's salary, so that's, judge's salary gets decreased and the others get increased by what they need to be increased by.
Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Are these permanent increases or decreases, or only 1 year?
This is just for this year to make those line items not negative.
Okay.
And then, we start over again, which we already have actually, but.
I move that we adopt resolution 2020-R-02.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Jan, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore?
Yes.
Nathan Conklin?
Yes.
Tim Heiss?
Yes.
Peter Frias?
Yes.
And conflict of interest forms.
Do we need to suspend rules and do it again?
This is a
It's a
resolution.
Just a resolution, okay.
Good question, though. Conflict of interest forms.
Okay, we have
Yes.
4 people that I've submitted conflict of interest forms. I just need council's approval on those.
We have had a chance to review those.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to tell you who they are. Cindy Ming, she does our cleaning of the city building, so she gets a 1099 for that. Let's see, there's Tim. I,
Sorry, just the way she said it.
I forget, I'm trying to get my.
Matt Good.
Matt Good.
Good.
Oh,
John
you know, it's
Fett.
John Fett. John Fett's done flooring and stuff clean for us.
And we do need a motion for approval, do we not?
Yes.
I move that we approve all signed forms of the conflict of interest presented in the packet.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Jan, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Chris.
Yes.
All right. Ordinance number 2021-02, which is the ordinance to extend FMLA for COVID.
Yeah, that would be me too. This is, I don't know whether you wanted to consider this or not. But,
Ron, you're hitting the camera.
Trying to get out of the way so you guys can see Jan.
She'd probably prefer you stand up and block her.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, you're all right.
okay, so this is, in response to the Federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act. If you remember, we were to offer sick leave to, employees if they had the coronavirus. Because they're required to stay home, and sometimes it's, like up to 10 days. So anyway, this is extending it through January 1st, because as far as the federal government, it ended as of January 1st, 2021. So we can go ahead and extend this. And I just put down January 31st, 2021. We have an employee who has had the coronavirus in the month of January. So, I mean, I know we don't want to keep this going on forever and ever, but there's just something that was brought to my attention, so I'm just bringing it to yours. And other communities have chose to extend it, so it's whether or not council wants to do it or not.
Is there any direction by the state of Indiana what we should be doing?
Not by the state.
Federal government?
Well, the federal says that, let's see, what's it say?
No longer required.
Yeah, it's no longer required, but however, employers may voluntarily extend the COVID-19 related paid sick leave and emergency family medical leave act, other provisions through March 31st, 2021. So we can voluntarily do it or not.
Is there anything in the works that they're going to bring this up again in February?
But the federal government would?
Yeah.
No.
Basically, is this something we're gonna approve each month throughout the whole year?
You're going to be dealing with this until probably September, October at the earliest.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Can we just scratch out January 31st and mark out October 30th or 31st of 2021?
I mean, really, to extend the FMLA, if somebody legitimately from our workforce has COVID, I don't know why you just don't do it through December 31st of 2021 and be done with it once. And then if we need it, it's there, and if nobody needs it, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that myself. That's,
Jan, you got an opinion over there?
Bite my tongue.
Jan and I are on the same side of the argument, but I'm on the other side. We're going to keep dealing with this.
Yeah.
And we never know when our employees are going to get it, if they will get it. So
But we do offer sick time.
they do have the time to take off. It's
We give them.
whether or not they want to take
six-
FMLA and take
6
their
days
time.
a year.
Well, we definitely, I don't think we should be doing month by month, but
Yeah, that's
maybe
fine.
quarter,
Yeah.
year would be okay, I suppose. I mean,
Are there hesitations because people are abusing the policy?
I'd say here, no. In the city, I guess there's hesitation on my part because I think it can't be.
I know it can be.
So that's, my hesitation. I mean, I just feel like if they know we're not gonna continue it anymore, they will be a little more wise with how they maybe spend their time off, whether it's personal days or, sick days.
Well, and on the flip side, though, you don't want them banking all that time for the very end of the year again either, right?
Well, sick time is something that runs from year to year.
Okay.
They can have sick time.
But there is a max on that of 400, total max. But once they reach that, they can't accumulate anymore. But sick time they do not use it or lose it kind of thing.
Right.
So I guess, I don't know. But you're right, I mean, so we have employees that have had it, and we've had to do it for them. But now the federal government's not requiring it.
Well, I don't want us to be in the same boat as the federal government because they have issues going on. In my opinion, I think we should at least extend this till the end of March, and we can have a conversation and see about, is there any opportunity for city workers to be getting vaccines?
Not yet, it's not open yet.
Okay. Well, I know healthcare is an option as an essential
Well,
worker.
I should rephrase that. All of my personnel in law enforcement have had the opportunity to get the vaccine. The majority of us have not taken it.
Okay.
So, that's another thing, so.
I like that idea, just extend to March 31st.
Like I said,
So I hear that in the form of a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 2021-02 with the addition of, instead of it saying January 31st, to say March 31st of 2021 by title and extra verbiage only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brendan Elmore,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
yes.
Peter Freas.
Yes.
All right. Do you want you want to entertain suspension of the rules?
No.
If we wait until the next meeting, it doesn't matter because, well,
Right.
sorry, no, it doesn't matter. It's until March. But I was thinking with 31st, I was thinking, unless we're suspending rules, this is kind of pointless because literally the next meeting is until February. So, yes, I would say let's suspend the rules and,
You want to suspend the rules and just get it over with?
Yes, please.
We have a motion on the floor to suspend the rules.
I'll second.
The first and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The rules have been suspended. I would hereby entertain a motion on the floor for this ordinance.
I'll move we approve ordinance 2021-02, ordinance to extend FMLA for COVID with the above said amendment of March 31st on the second reading.
We have a motion on the floor for the second reading. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a first and second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brendan Elmore,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Freas.
Yes.
All right.
Jen, can we have a discussion about that on the first meeting in March? So we're
Yes.
not at the last deadline at the second meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Then ordinance number 2021-03, which is an ordinance amending Title III, Section 30, and Title III, Section 39 of the codified ordinances of the City of Union City. And Monty, did you want to address this? I know or Jan?
Well, we
had a discussion.
I was gonna say,
we had, in the ordinance, initially that was a $50 limit on department head purchasing. Mayor Conklin had moved that up to, by matter of policy, up to $1,000 department heads. When it was originally put in place, there was a reason for it, and I think that it has served its purpose over the years. So it would, I think it works well with $1,000 for the department heads to use that without having to get an administrative purchase order for anything over that. if that works for you all.
I've always looked in projects where the limit was 500 before getting a purchase order. And I guess my question is, what types of expenses or purchases are needed that would require $1,000? I mean, because it's a leeway for department heads, for managers, and yes, they have an operation to make sure that it's going well. Something simple, easy, that you need to buy. Oh my gosh, you have to write a purchasing order, it has to be approved, and it takes all this, bureaucracy time. They're responsible individuals. You want to give them some money, but do they need $1,000?
I'll just kind of answer that question for you a little bit. First of all, it's not a problem at all to really get a purchase order. The confusion and the lag time is kind of, I don't want to say self-created, but if we were actually doing it on the front side of some of these purchases, I would literally have to get purchase orders for about 80% of the things that I buy. My medication orders, my medical supply orders, the things that I do on a regular basis are always in that $700, $800, $900 range.
Oh, okay.
So, and Rob, with the lab supplies and things like that, he runs into the same thing. Brad runs into the same thing. So, it's not a problem to do it, but and that's kind of why Brian, Mayor Conklin, by policy just said, hey, if it's not over $1,000, don't worry about it. Just get a PO for everything over $1,000. Because it ended up lagging or slowing Monty down and the department heads down, because they were having to take time to do the paperwork, to submit it to Monty, then Monty had to, so it was just, the majority of our orders are in that $8,000 to $1,000 range,
Okay.
and it's extra work for things that we have to buy anyway, because they're consumables, or things that we go through on a regular basis.
And I'll add that just exactly what he says there, some of the things they spend on a regular basis is usually where that applies. When it comes to, let's say, Brad has a breakdown of a piece of equipment, has a failure of something on the backhoe, and it's gonna be $800. He always is communicating with Monty.
Yeah, if it's an equipment failure, if it's a new purchase of equipment or something like that, that always goes through the purchase order process.
They always go through that
It's
process.
the consumables that slow things down that we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly. And those numbers tend to run up to that.
And from an overarching perspective too, they still have to adhere to their budgets. So even with that allowance here, they still have a budget number that they have to meet, and which you guys always have visibility to. So so they're able to be tracked, on a regular basis, I guess I should say.
So, but they've been using this.
For the most part, we've been
1,000?
using the $1,000 for the last 3 or 4 years,
Okay.
maybe. I don't know how long it was. This is crazy. Just it's $1,000. Go get a PO for Monty if it's over that, because we were just spending more and more time doing paperwork instead of doing work.
Gotcha.
So not that the paperwork's not work, but it was getting to be a little tedious.
Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 2021-03 purchasing by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Nathan Coppell,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
And we've covered the harder part chip and seal quote. So we will move along to the residential layouts. And Nate, would you like me to turn this over to you?
Yes. Honestly, I'll keep this short and sweet because holy cow, it's almost past my bedtime. Honestly, this is a discussion. We want to get community input. We want to get council input. You'll see there's two drawings, literally the last 2 pages of the council packet. And this is about the property that the city currently has ownership on Plum Street. To the west, Plum Street, just east of the wastewater treatment plant and the new oxidation ditch, along with where the wind turbine is. This is literally, after a lot of time and discussion and meeting with people around the community, this is the largest plot of land that is city-owned that would not have to be purchased and would be the most opportunistic area to potentially look at putting a housing addition in. This is literally a discussion. If you guys hate it, well, we can scrap it, go back to the drawing board. It's tough to kind of see these on these images. Let me know if you want to see it more. I can shoot you an email. Honestly, it's to see if our community were up in line to get a large contract with multiple employers that are around. We're out of housing space. Oak Street is supposed to help address that, but that in the maximum, it's 8. I believe it's gonna be 6 is the target, 6 to 8, and depends on how those sell. That is a different, unique location. These properties, up for conversation of what we want the price point to be. The design, of course, can change. The location is kind of what's fixed. If we all think it's a good idea, I'll continue investigating and looking at it. Multiple engineering companies were trying to figure out different sources for this. This is from RQAW. There's no cost incurred. I'm not going to incur any cost at all. We're just literally exploring what options are. They have suggested that we can go about it in a couple different ways, have it as multiple different phases. The first thing is to find something that we like design-wise and what we think would enhance our community. And then the next thing would be going into some engineering planning. I do know at the federal level there is some funds that could potentially be pushed out in the next year to 4 years that we may end up having some opportunities to utilize state federal funds to improve our community with infrastructure, whether it's roads or water or sewage. It'd be a way to capture some of that money. But those projects, from what I've been asking several people, is they look at those and they want shovel-ready projects. Right. So we've already done the drawing, we've already done the engineering work. Here's our stack of papers, we just need the money to do it. Yep. That all has to be in place. And unfortunately, this is the very, very first step. If we have other solutions or suggestions on locations, we can definitely discuss that. But this one is free and clear, city-owned, nothing's tied to it. And there's actually sewage line and water line and electric. Electric runs right by in front of the property, but the water and sewer actually run through the property already. So part of the infrastructure is there. It would just have to be added on to. Again, just kind of a conversation, thoughts, questions, concerns. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning along the way. Kind of like what Tito's doing with the
Splash pad.
Splash pad.
But there's beauty in that, because you've always got to start somewhere.
Yes.
And I will go on record to say you worked really hard at getting this going, which I think is awesome. And to add my 2 cents for what it's worth, I'm really partial to drawing that has the detention pond. I think that is ingenious.
Well, which one?
It would be, there's 2 right here, right?
One right in the center?
Yeah, well, there's actually 2
Yeah, there's one on both of them. There has to be one for watershed because we're displacing that much field.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, I just, anytime you build around parks or water, it's always a plus.
Yeah.
So I like that concept. I also love the fact that this is a very accessible area, given that it's right off of 28 and it's right by the school too. So there's definitely appeal there. But to back up your comments, in terms of shovel ready, you're absolutely right. It would be an arduous task, as we've already found, trying to locate other properties that A, are ideal for expansion, and B, we could grab. Because, just because we see somewhere, it'd be nice to build doesn't mean we can get the property.
Yes.
And so this is already in our back pocket. So I love the concept. But I'm curious what council
Well,
thinks.
then to add, there's interest at the county level in
Yes.
in housing because of the limited housing stocks, so.
And they have given $300,000, it should be noted,
Exactly.
for a housing project. The county has.
to Winchester for 39, or how many?
16.
16 houses?
16,000.
And they give 300,000, correct?
Yeah,
Correct.
so there's potential county support there
Yeah.
for this.
And this is conceptual. I believe one has 57 and the other one has 52. We're talking about 37 acres that is out there. Unfortunately, the engineer did go off of some older GIS drawings, so it doesn't have our new wastewater treatment detention pond, and it doesn't have the dirt that was moved. So these could all be changed and adjusted. It's just the idea, the concept. Is
Yes.
this something? I wanted to bring this up before, but I wanted you guys to have something in your hands in the community to hear about. Is this something we want and need? I think there's some opportunity that we're losing people to surrounding cities, towns, and counties. And if we start this out, do phase 1 and put 15, 20 houses in and they sell, we can start phase 2 and roll it out further. I want Union City to grow again. I'm trying to find a way to convince my 18-month-old to be in town and want to come back here when he's 18. And that is, I
hope that discussion's going well so far.
So far it's yes and dada, so we're good with that. But ultimately, my father helped bring me back to town, and I want to continue to see Union City thrive and succeed. So I think this is a key part, as well as getting some jobs that pay better in town as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
Brandon, Tito, Monty, Jan, anybody?
I like it. I think it's awesome. I mean, it's the future, right? We want to grow. We want to have a lively community. We want more housing options. We want. It can only be good. It'll increase the tax base.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it is already annexed, so it is technically already in city limits, and that can be a very large expense. $30,000 to $50,000 is what I've been told.
Yeah.
The next steps would be to kind of draw these out, see what we like as a community. How big do you want the lots? How close together? Things like that. County requirements, you have to have 10-foot setback all around the property. But then the next steps would be literally meeting with one or multiple engineer companies, get a drawing out, and then we would have to get some actual a topographic and boundary survey of the property, choose between the idea or concept that we'd like, and then we have an engineer drawn, and then a conceptual layout of the storm sanitary and water lines, and then we can get an itemized engineer cost of the construction for the project. Then that would have to be bid out to 3 different groups. There is a phasing plan that can be done throughout the process, but the first thing is what do we like, what do we want to see added, and I've talked to several realtors and individuals about what they want the target price to be, but also it's going to be up to who we can get to work on the project, as well as what do we want to see in our community.
Yeah, that was going to be my question was, I mean, what are we talking about price-wise? What kind of range are we looking at in terms of the housing costs here? And preferentially, I like the second one here. I like the second of the two.
Is that the one? I think it's important when you guys are having a conversation. I think everything you do has to have sidewalks.
Yes,
Yeah.
most
Because
certainly.
I think the communities have to be walkable, and I think they have to be, stroller and bicycle friendly for parents with, small children and so on and so forth.
With how close this is to the school, I've even had them draw in connecting some of these side streets to the north and south additions that are already there,
Nice.
to find a way to make it so it's not just one community addition you're pulling in, but it also will tie the area together.
Yeah.
So kids could walk to school without actually walking all the way out to Plum Street and down. So
But I also think beyond that we still have to think about sidewalk expansion on Plum Street.
Oh,
Yes.
without a doubt. Yes.
With this too,
Yes.
ultimately.
and of course, I'm gonna go every avenue looking at grant funding and federal and state funding on this. If you guys hate the idea, well, how can I sell you on it, honestly? If you like it, what do you want to see better done differently? So, just kind of a conversation. I'll keep doing some digging on my side and present it as it comes through. And if any of you want to be a part of this, feel free to let me know, and I'll let you know when the next meetings are.
I think we have a consensus. You guys want this to continue, correct? Brandon?
Yeah. Yeah, the only concern, maybe I heard you a little bit talking about it, is how close it is to the wastewater plant.
Yeah.
Is that an issue?
The real issue is how close it is to the wind turbine. That is the only state item that we have to have so far for a fall ground. As for the wastewater treatment plant, everything that I've been told so far is just a preference of if somebody wants it in their backyard or not. And I think some of my thoughts around this would be, a lot of the roads are gonna have to be put in, and when you put a new road in, you have to dig 6, 8, 10 inches down, depending on what the engineer requires. That dirt could then be moved at the back of the property and create a grassy berm, hills, rolling to kind of make it look like, and you would feel that you're not even next to a wastewater treatment plant. And with how it's supposed to operate, we should never have a smell based on how much money, energy, time has been put in this new one.
I think it's important to keep things in perspective too, because there are how many properties up front we would bare minimum gain, if I'm looking at this correctly, trying to visualize, it looks like a good 20 new properties up front that aren't even approaching the discussion we're having right now.
Yep.
Right.
So just to get phase one done.
It's a non-issue for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we already have housing in that.
Exactly. So put housing up front, see how that goes, and then we might have the answers to those issues down the road.
I think one other point I'll make real quick too is that by putting new housing in that area will spur some, that area is not bad anyway, but it spurs more revitalization, more interest in the area in general. So
agreed.
It may enhance properties in terms of what people are willing to invest and expand and
That's a great point.
improve in that particular area.
There's even some open ground across the street on Plum that may look a lot differently if there's a new addition sitting across the street.
So yeah, I think it's good for the whole area.
I agree. Okay. Well,
I'm just curious, I mean, I don't want to take us off topic, but there's an area on, is that Division, right? Division that goes out to the park. On the right, before you get to Jackson Pike.
That's
Yes.
Mitchell Avenue.
Is that, that's also,
that's owned by, well, I don't know.
Is that
It's
available?
owned by
It's owned by
private citizens.
Yeah, two citizens that wanted to develop it, and for whatever reason, I don't know why that fell through, but
That has city water, sewage,
Yep.
and has already been annexed. So essentially, if somebody wanted to partake, we can get them in contact with the individuals and they
I
can
know
have a
one of
conversation
the
about
two
buying
would
it.
sell their half of it pretty quick.
Okay.
I think it's like 8 acres total.
I don't remember, I've got it on my desk, but I don't remember offhand.
And we might be able to piggyback that into this.
Yeah.
We could piggyback that into this too.
True.
As a location. But I think this location is ideal just from the standpoint of city property. We can do all this work without worrying about. And so then we can piggyback somebody else's property into that.
Yes.
And which would be welcome from any location besides that one.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Agreed.
Because there's a couple other locations that have some potential developable property, number of lots and so forth.
In my conversations, this will be my last point, in my conversations, a developer builder does not even want to come to a town unless you have 30 to 50 lots.
Yeah.
One or two, they don't care.
Yeah.
You have 5, no, still not interested. But we get a project like this, we could potentially have a builder building one, sell it, build the next one, sell it, build the next one, and then the fourth one is then sold before it's actually built. It's more like a custom home versus pre-built. So,
Very good. All right. Well, let's proceed. Visitors. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the board? If so,
Yes.
please stand and state your name and address.
I have a couple things real quick. I asked Greg to come with me, and I had no idea this was gonna be a marathon council session. Okay, Union City Veteran Tribute Park, which is going to be where 403 Pearl was torn down. Statue is in, it's sitting in the fire department, the base is there, we'll be dedicating that Memorial Day.
Correct.
Is that right?
Memorial Day weekend.
Murals going on the wall of the American Legion. The visual concept of that is in drawing form. We're working on making the drawing come to life. Part of that process is putting a paver circular design around the statue base. Part of that process is to have the bricks, and Greg can take them up there and show them to you guys. Basically laser etched and engraved.
Thank you.
So just letting you know so you can tell all your peeps and everybody that you're in contact with. These forms are going to start landing in our local businesses, the city building, the Elks, the American Legion, the VFW. So this is going to be a process where people can basically pay tribute to anybody that served in the military. The military logos are going to be on the bricks. They'll be away from the roadway, so we shouldn't have a bunch of salt damage, and that was brought up today at the Board of Works. But, you know, we'll make them last as long as they can last. So this is kind of new. Greg has volunteered to head it up, so I appreciate all his help, because that means I don't have to mess with it. But please, please, please.
Do we know
get,
how much?
They're $100 per brick, and 100% of all the proceeds will stay at the location to help maintain it, to build it, to make renovations as they need. Everything will be lit. It'll all be ADA accessible. We're working on the sidewalk engineering now, so there's going to be new parking spaces. It'll be completely transformed once we're done, and we're making those baby steps to get it completed. We want the grassy area, the greenery, basically done and installed by Memorial Day. So this is kind of a priority for us, and if you have questions, everybody knows how to get a hold of me or talk to Greg. He's basically around town every day. So Greg, you got anything else on that?
No.
You do not have to be a deceased member of the military. We want to pay tribute to every service member, living or deceased. So please understand that it's not a memorial park per se. It's a tribute park. So that was something that Ted wanted me to make sure everybody understood, that we want to honor all service people. So
Could you get with Brian and let Brian Merrill, sorry, and let him know what you would like to, how you'd like to have that put on the permanent sign up here to inform people of this?
Yep.
So everybody can see. I want everybody to know about this.
Yeah, it'll be going on the electronic sign too. So.
Super.
And then just real quick, Greg, thanks for coming. Sorry, I had no idea. Okay, so
You learned all kinds of things, didn't you?
everybody, I should have handed this to you. I don't need anything from you. This is the regurgitated part of the radio conversation and the communications conversation we had at the last meeting. We have got confirmation that we are not going to be able to receive a grant for this project because the grant funding process is not going to be open and or awarded till late in the fall. So that's just, we tried, we got confirmation that that's it.
Is it retroactive?
He does not believe so, no. Like he was 90+% positive that it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Good news is, when I was here 2 weeks ago, it was $177,000. We did some revisiting with some vendors and things like that. We took out one of the servers for the video system, which we were able to do by merging to the same vendor for the in-car and the body cam. And we actually saved about $15,000 on the total purchase by doing that. So the total price has gone down a little bit. I don't need anything from you because you pretty much already agreed that we have to do the project. And Jan and Monty are working on the paperwork process and the deal. I just wanted you guys to know that we're not going to get grant funded unless you guys want to push something back, and I would suggest against that. The only thing we really could push back would be the video equipment, and there's new legislation going through the state right now that they're going to start charging the officers criminally with misdemeanor charges if they don't activate their body camera. So, and our body cameras currently are starting to fail, so we have to update this technology sooner than later. So, that's it.
Any other visitors?
Let's do it.
If not, I would hereby mercifully ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.
You have a